mean, people are now wanting to share their experiences of being abducted or, seeing UFOs. But one thing I have noticed, Thomas, and tell me if this is my imagination, back in the old days, I'm talking 10, 15 years ago, when people would report to me on my shows, because I've been doing talk shows for many years, they would come up and say, well, the UFO was like 50 feet in diameter or 75 or 100 feet in diameter. Now, all of a sudden, I'm hearing these things are huge, really huge. Have you noticed the change on the people reporting like what the UFOs look like and the shapes of them and all this stuff?
Well, the biggest overall change, Gary, I think over the long term has been from the saucer shape to the triangle shape. And people have been reporting triangles in Europe in the 1990s, early 2000s, and this has also been occurring in the United States. And historically, UFOs have come in just about every shape and size you can imagine. But some of these triangle craft are being reported as really, really, really big, and it's intriguing. It's very intriguing, and there are a lot of rumors that some of these triangle craft may be domestic in origin, and some of them have certain characteristics that have been described by Michael Spratt, who's very knowledgeable about aerospace technology, as maybe we can distinguish those as maybe being of domestic origin, but then some of the others apparently are not of a domestic origin, and they're huge.
Well, what I took an alarm, and I didn't hear it just from one guest, but I've heard it probably in the last couple of months, probably from 3 or 4 different guests, saying that the UFO they saw was triangle. It was dark gray, but the reports are like they're almost the size of a Walmart store. Have you heard anything about that being that big?
Oh yeah, and I've heard them even bigger. But when you consider even like a B-2 bomber, those are pretty big machines. But of course, the things that people have been reporting have not been B-2 bombers, because with a B-2, and I've actually seen one fly because I used to work on Lackland Air Force Base in a civilian capacity. But I've seen one fly, and they have jet engines. They sound like any other jet, as far as I'm concerned. So what people are reporting in these triangles is something entirely different.
Yeah, that's what's interesting, because they're saying that they hear no sound. They just all of a sudden, one of these things will appear and then like slowly disappear. Now, I don't know if they're cloaking, or maybe if they have a problem with their cloaking device malfunctioning, and that's how they're showing up. But, even Art Bell back in the 90s, him and his wife were out in the back of their, where they were at, and they had a triangle, kind of creep by.
Uh-huh. And now one explanation has been, I think an author by the name of Curtis Peebles gave an explanation that there is a type of craft that is actually, it's almost like a dirigible. It's like it could be triangular shaped, but it's filled with helium or some lighter than air gas, and it can have quiet fans to propel it. But in that instance, the craft is going to move pretty slow, and a lot of these triangles have been reported as moving slowly. But that's just one possible explanation. But there have been so many interesting reports of these triangles. I don't think that explanation could account for all of them.
No, I don't either, because like one of the last ones I got from one of our guests said it was moving really slow. It had no sound, and all of a sudden it was like, bam, it was gone, like almost instantaneously. So I just don't think a big, huge blimp, shaped in a triangle with whatever type of motors it has, silent motors, could do that. So, I mean, maybe the government has something like this to maybe, whatever with the population. But I really do feel that, that this is whatever is visiting us now is not the saucer, shape stuff of the 50s and 60s and 70s anymore.
Yeah, we're hearing about these Tic Tacs now. We're hearing all about those, and that seems to be about all we're hearing about at the present. But obviously, when you have Navy pilots engaging these and being in proximity to them, that's something very, very important. And we're hearing a lot about that, but it's all about Tic Tacs at the moment.
Now, you want to describe to the listeners, because some of them are new to listening about UFOs. What is a Tic Tac?
Well, a Tic Tac is an unidentified aircraft. Now, the thing is, from the videos that we've been able to see on the internet, etc., the videos are from gun camera film, and I don't think we have seen the clearest format or form in those videos. Okay, so it's possible that the craft may not be truly shaped like a Tic Tac because it's somewhat fuzzy in the film that we're seeing, and sometimes things get labeled and it sticks. But I'm pretty sure that the pilots that have encountered these have described them as Tic Tac, and it's like a Tic Tac like you get in the grocery store. It looks like a little pill, and it's like pill shaped. Okay, and that's distinct, and that's it sounds to me, and I don't know the size of these things. I don't know this case in that detail, but it sounds like a smaller version of what used to be called a cigar shaped craft.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Now, yeah. the cigar-shaped ones kind of went out like in the mid-'60s. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just we're being visited by different, races of humanoids out there that are, discovering our planet. So maybe that's why we're seeing all these different type of shapes and crafts and all these different type of reports and stuff like that. Now, I even get people saying that they have seen these, triangle shapes with windows and stuff like that in it.
Yeah, and there have been some pretty graphic descriptions of some of these triangles, and I have heard Michael Schratt's lectures several times, and I've seen his presentations. He has lots of graphics and videos, and some of these triangles actually have there's almost looks like a steel girder grid underneath. And almost like plumbing, or like you're inside an industrial style warehouse, and there are pipes and girders and things. It kind of looks like that, and that's really a different kind of an appearance than we had ever experienced before. Because in the past, in the 50s and 60s, we had saucers and we had bell-shaped craft, and just about every shape you can imagine. One of the more interesting ones to me are these rectangular shaped craft. So we are getting reports of other than just triangles, but there are these rectangular shaped craft and all kinds.
That's interesting. I remember seeing my first. I'm 68, and I remember my dad showed me a picture of a UFO off of Mount Rainier that I guess was in the Seattle Times that somebody got a picture of. And that was the first time I ever saw a UFO other than what you see on TV. And that really intrigued me. But then from there, they went from the saucer shape to the cigar shape to, the triangle shape. And it just, I don't know. It's just they advanced so much. And then from the sizes, now maybe the smaller ones were nothing more than scout craft, coming from the mothership to do whatever they're doing on our planet. But they've gone from being like 50, 75 feet in diameter now to maybe bigger in Walmart. I don't know. I just find it so interesting, and that the people are not scared to talk about it like they were 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if you went to work and you started saying, well, I saw a UFO and it was the size of, a Walmart store. It was triangle. People would be looking at you like, what were you smoking?
Well, yeah, and when I first got into this, Gary, actively around 1989, 1990, 1991, I was talking to friends about it and bringing up the subject. And based on the kinds of reactions I was getting, I deduced that I had about a 50-50 chance of them thinking I was kooky. So I just kept it to myself. But a lot has changed since then. A lot has changed since the 1980s.
Well, yeah, it is, because you know the amount of people that claim that they had implants put in them or they've been abducted. I mean, they're not scared to talk about it anymore. I mean, I'm sure there is people, that are carrying that baggage, in their mind. But I mean, a lot of people are just not scared to talk about what's going on, what they've seen. I even had a trucker on my show here, 6-7 months ago. And he used to do long haul trucks. And here he was going into a desert, or coming out of the desert, out of Texas. I can't remember where. And he claimed to me that he saw a cow going up in this bright light. And he slowed down and he was looking and he didn't see any ropes, chains, or anything. And he said it shook him up so bad that he went the next morning and told his boss, "I'm not doing any more long hauls." It just made him realize that there is something out there that he couldn't, comprehend.
Well, what's to stop them from taking the tractor beam and picking him up in his truck and taking him away? That might occur to you when you're out there, and if you actually see something like that. Well, that would be frightening.
Well, just look at how many people have gone, missing, not just in the National Forest, which I keep talking about, but the amount of people the FBI says that disappear yearly without a trace, without anything. It's scary.
Well, let's hope it's not because of any kind of alien activity. That's all I can hope. Because if it is, I think we have reason to be gravely concerned.
Well, see, that's just it. Some of the guests I have had on, some of them will say that their interactions with their abduction, for example, was all positive. But then I have had other ones like Calvin Parker. When I really got him into a question, I said, "Did you feel that they were here, trying to serve man? Not the cookbook from the Twilight Zone, but I mean, are they here to, benefit men?" And he said he felt they were evil. And I just haven't heard it from him. I've heard it from a lot of people that have been abducted, that what they went through, I mean, they had no regards of what they put the person through, both physically and emotionally, and the pain. And it just makes you wonder, if all these aliens or whatever is abducting people, doing experiments, taking their DNA, I don't know. But I don't feel they're very friendly. Not all of them. And Mary Joyce, who runs the reporting center out of Cashiers, North Carolina. Now, she does like cryptics and, UFO reports. She claims that there's a military base in North Carolina that aliens are working with the military for technology. But she claims, from the information she got from some people that have top secret clearance or above, she claims that these aliens are not the friendly ones towards human. You would not want to run into one of them.
Yeah, and we hear stories like that from time to time. I mean, the original set of stories like that were coming out of related to the Paul Benowitz affair in New Mexico, and the whole legends and stories about Dulce Base, and the aliens were working with us, in these various levels underground and so on and so forth. And we've heard stories like that in Area 51, and now you mentioned North Carolina. I don't know. I'm not going to go so far as to say anything like that is actually happening, because I simply don't have enough information. But these have been part of the rumor mill for many years.
Oh, yeah. I've actually had a trucker on my show, which I actually know, that he actually would make deliveries to an underground base. And he would be instructed to back in, after he went into what he claimed like a major underground city. And he would back into the loading dock. And the next thing there is, he's a whole bunch of MPs or military, personnel with M16s pointing at him and telling him to keep his hands on the steering wheel, don't turn his head or he'll be shot. And